They said it could never fall. A city of wealth beyond imagination, a navy that ruled the Mediterranean, an empire powerful enough to challenge Rome itself. And yet, within a single generation, Carthage was erased, burned, broken, and buried beneath the ambitions of its greatest rival. But here is the question historians still debate today. Was Carthage destroyed by Rome or by its own decisions? Because the truth is far more complex than a simple story of conquest. Carthage began as something small, founded around 814 BCE by Phoenician settlers from the city of Tyre. It was never meant to dominate the ancient world. It was a trading outpost, a strategic port along the North African coast in what is now modern Tunisia. But geography has a way of shaping destiny. Positioned at the crossroads of Mediterranean trade routes, Carthage quickly became the gateway between Europe, Africa, and the Near East. Silver flowed in from Iberia, grain came from North Africa, luxury goods, textiles, and the famous purple dye of the Phoenicians circulated through its harbors. Wealth accumulated at astonishing speed, and with wealth came influence. Unlike Rome, Carthage initially did not pursue conquest through land armies. It built power through commerce. Its strength lay in ships, trade agreements, and economic networks that stretched across the Mediterranean. It created colonies, secured ports, and built the most formidable navy of its time. For generations, this strategy worked. Carthage grew prosperous without the constant territorial wars that defined other rising powers. But then, across the sea, another city was expanding, and it valued something very different. Rome was young, ambitious, and relentless. At first, Rome and Carthage tolerated one another. Treaties were signed, boundaries were respected, but tension was inevitable. The island of Sicily, strategically positioned between them, became the spark that ignited centuries of conflict. In 264 BCE, the First Punic War began. Carthage held the advantage. Its navy was unmatched, its sailors experienced, its maritime dominance unquestioned. Rome, by contrast, had little naval experience, yet what Rome lacked in tradition, it compensated for with adaptability. Roman engineers captured a Carthaginian ship, copied its design, and rapidly constructed a fleet. They introduced new boarding tactics that turned sea battles into infantry combat, an area where Roman discipline excelled. The war dragged on for 23 years. It drained resources, it tested endurance, and in the end, Carthage lost Sicily, not because it was weaker in skill, but because Rome adapted faster. But Carthage was not finished. From its defeat emerged one of history's most extraordinary military leaders, Hannibal Barca. In 218 BCE, during the Second Punic War, Hannibal made a decision so bold it continues to astonish historians. Instead of confronting Rome at sea, he marched his army over land, across Spain, through Gaul, and over the snow-covered Alps into northern Italy. With him were tens of thousands of soldiers and war elephants. The journey was brutal. Many did not survive, but those who did descended into Italy like a storm Rome had never anticipated. What followed were some of the most devastating defeats Rome had ever suffered. At the Battle of Trebia, Roman forces were outmaneuvered. At Lake Trasimene, they were ambushed, and at Cannae, Hannibal executed a double envelopment so precise that it became a model studied in military academies thousands of years later. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers were lost in a single day. Rome was shaken to its core. For a moment, it seemed possible that Carthage might win. And yet, Hannibal never marched directly on the city of Rome itself. That decision remains one of the great debates in military history. Did he lack reinforcements? Was he waiting for political support from Carthage that never arrived? Did he misjudge Rome's capacity to recover? Whatever the reason, Rome did not surrender. Instead, it changed strategy. Rather than pursuing Hannibal recklessly, Rome avoided direct confrontation and attacked Carthage's territories elsewhere, particularly in Spain. They cut supply lines, they rebuilt their strength, they refused to collapse. Eventually, Rome forced Hannibal to return to North Africa to defend his homeland. In 202 BCE, at the Battle of Zama, Roman general Scipio Africanus defeated Hannibal. It was a turning point not just for the war, but for the balance of power in the Mediterranean. Carthage survived, but its power was severely weakened. It was stripped of territory, burdened with heavy reparations, and forbidden from waging war without Roman permission. The once dominant maritime empire had been reduced to a shadow of itself. For a time, Carthage rebuilt economically. Trade resumed. Prosperity returned in limited form. But Rome watched carefully. Suspicion grew. Fear lingered. Some Roman leaders argued that Carthage must be destroyed completely to ensure permanent security. Eventually, Rome found its pretext. In 149 BCE, the Third Punic War began. This time, it was not about competition, it was about elimination. After a prolonged siege, Roman forces breached the city in 146 BCE. Carthage was destroyed, its buildings dismantled, its remaining population enslaved. The great rival of Rome was gone. Or so it seemed, because history rarely ends so cleanly. Rome eventually rebuilt Carthage as a Roman city. It became one of the most important urban centers in the Western Empire. Trade returned, prosperity returned. The location that had once made Carthage powerful remained valuable under Roman rule. The enemy had fallen, but its geography endured. So why did Carthage truly fall? It was not a lack of intelligence, not a lack of wealth, not even a lack of military brilliance. Carthage fell because it relied heavily on economic power while underestimating the political and military determination of its rival. Rome was willing to endure loss after loss, year after year, without surrender. It was structured for total war and long-term expansion. Carthage, built on trade and negotiated influence, struggled in a conflict that demanded relentless, uncompromising conquest. The story of Carthage is not simply about defeat. It is about contrast. Commerce versus conquest, adaptability versus tradition, patience versus persistence. It reminds us that strength is not measured only by wealth or innovation, but by resilience and strategic unity. Empires rise through opportunity. They fall through miscalculation, overextension, or the emergence of a rival that refuses to yield. Carthage once stood as the wealthiest power in the Mediterranean. It nearly broke Rome. It reshaped naval warfare. It influenced global trade systems. And though its political independence ended in 146 BCE, its legacy continued in military strategy, economic networks, and the lessons it left behind. Because the fall of Carthage did not just mark the end of an empire, it marked the beginning of Rome's path to becoming the dominant power of the ancient world. If this story changed how you see the ancient Mediterranean, then the next chapter will change how you see Rome itself. The rise of Rome after Carthage was not inevitable. It was forged through adaptation, ambition, and survival. Subscribe for more deep historical journeys and continue exploring the empires that shaped our world. History does not repeat itself, but it always rewards those who pay attention.